Everyone. So I'm talking now about another movie on an ongoing production from my channel. And this time I went to check out another movie in relation that was in the top 10 list for Netflix. I was also attracted to the implications. This was another further work implicated from Amanda Seinfeld, and I'm a very big fan of like movies that she's already appeared in. So I was going to check this out. Female around concepts of themes that you could say overlaps a lot in my terms of what I was playing at was at the moment. It's nicely portrayed in the package that comes into a slice of life realism. So the aspect of death and life, born, newborns towards the end. So postnatal depression can become in line and something very treatable in lines of like the specialty of obstetrics and gynecology, which we can learn and taught as students regardless. Okay, so the story is very drawn through the characterization through how Amanda Seinfeld portrays it, and immediately the audience is drawn by what is shown but not is said as she's showing evidence of self harm and hurting herself even after. So she seems to be very seems to be in a very what's the word I'm looking for, well looked after environment. So she doesn't realize that she has some form of illness that she cannot control just because of a lot of maternal emotional things, physiological changes, and overthinking women's may go through after giving birth was for the child. She seems to love, however, she seems to be very attached to her child, so she's not going through signs of neglect in that regards because she's often it was heavily portrayed that she's very caring, she's kissing her child all the time, but she herself has something that's wrong. Um, it was very good in the underlying to put the undertone of the movie because later on, without needing to say anything, a psychiatrist she sees a psychiatrist, and people can infer just by engaging with it to say she has some form of she has some form of weird depression. Um, I thought that was a very good expression in terms of a characterization of how she portrayed the character, body language, and putting in context of like natural reactions that you would expect in those kind of conversation and settings in a real life family, which made this immersion of like I'm watching someone's life from a perspective from that kind of perspective, and it felt like and reactions and behavior reactions of how she's portraying the character were very natural. Enough about that. Let's talk more in lines of the movie. There was a lot of portrayals, and in my head, there was a lot of things that I could have interpreted openly on memes that I take in lines of like understanding and playing a part and recurring for around my life or certain things. But like she's the woman herself, a better implication of like figuring out what she does. It seems to me she was writing. She's a writer, and she does storybook telling, particularly for kids. And there was a lot of idioms that I could take an understanding of, like portrayals of things that were subtle enough to make me think, "Oh, this is a perfect representation of like overlapping things that I'm working on," which I talked about before. The aspect of a physician taking in the role of a hypothetical bad guy circumstances, but then at the same time, if things were left untouched, in portraying to his projections originally in lines of being a good guy. Doctor, the aspects of death mixed with the implication of death of life makes in a very tightly packaged slice of life representation. As I said before, this is something I oversight is like this is perfect. This is perfect in that context. Um, So, because she has attempted self harm and she's even attempted suicide, which had left a huge stigma in the family, she would be a high risk factor in lines of like saying, I would say this is something if she were to admit herself and taken care of her GP, she should be admitted as an emergency and a medical emergency for circumstances of needing to like be supervised to the point where we think you know very high implication to say that she is very likely to do these things again. Now, very interestingly, most people, normal families, will come in regards of saying, you don't want to talk about those kind of things. You want to avoid this topic of conversation. Surprisingly, talking about suicide does not increase the chance of wanting to commit suicide. It was actually a fair depiction. The movie is set in a period of time before postnatal depression was analyzed and contextualized. But where we take stances, like physicians have, it may be more appropriate to approach physicians about this. So it's nice to talk about this in the context with professional help who are always studying and always trying to improve avoidance of certain. Also trained to kind of score depressions in a certain uh, scoring system. So we ask certain things in a more professional setting base point to rate and grade depression in different levels, mild, moderate to severe, and categorize their risk factors in association with it. So just again, if you do have problems, seek a clinician professional advice. They're very much well guided to do things in systematic ways to make an interpretation if you need emergency care or not. Okay. So again, what you could do, take an analysis of no understanding is like post-natal depression is nobody's fault. It's not to say the guilt is naturally put out on the blinds of those around them, thinking that this person is so mentally bad that she's seeking out death. No, no, it is no one's fault. It's a physiological response, I believe, and it comes in naturally for certain mothers, just because when pregnancy happens, hormonal changes are constantly affecting their own state of mind and being. So they just need to be well supported. Please don't understand that the partner or like anyone, friends and family, didn't do anything wrong. It's just something that happened. It's a sickness. Um, and like the reaction was like Ethan taking care of Julie. He had very he looked very caring to me. So again, he was doing his best with the circumstances, also feeling partially attached. So she was from a good family. This is why I take a stance of making you and these guys understand in lines of saying um, the setting of the movie isn't to portray a very bad environment. It's not, but like it kind of raises awareness of this condition. So like if you think something's wrong and from no natural responses, very simply like she just needs to medication. She'll be back to normal. Um, okay, so there is something in lines that if we're talking about lines that get brought out and like have an effect on people, this one is the one that I thought this movie was good. So it came into what the doctor was saying, a line taking from Mary of a poem, uh, and he put it into projection of saying, how does someone who sees that much life and hope in a balloon simply bake cookies and simply bake cookies uh, decides to stick her head in the oven, and a decision to recognize beauty and leave behind the pain when she was so bad, the pain that was so bad, death became the only option for her. Suicide ideation. It's kind of like a disparity. It has so much ambivalent feelings in between the two. You know what I'm trying to tell you, right? So other aspects in lines because we talk about balloons and if you, this comes in line heavily in depictions of like where I talk about students something coming birth from a reference of balloons taking taking in lines. She draw a picture of like an edition of a children's book and then she takes the implication of saying hope. At the time that I was watching that, I was still coming in line with those quotes and I saw a lot of balloons popping in my idea. And if we talk in lines of balloon popping, it looked like there was only one. I felt it was a depiction and projection of saying there's a lot. This picture represents hope with balloons pops. In full characterization to say that maybe she's implying she doesn't have that much, and she's overthinking a lot of things for her situation. At the same time, and it was beautifully depicted in this movie. I thought the writing for those sort of things, idioms were perfect. It talks about you could it looked like a daffodil, and a daffodil near death. When you blow them, and it sees brew floating in the air to like pollinate or uh, uh, for more weeds around in different other people's gardens and what so. But like it was I really loved it. I really felt this is a great way of expressing communication on impressions and connections made and how it becomes an artwork in terms of representation. uh, contemplating themes of it just contemplates the idea of themes of life and death, a paradox between the two, yet represented nicely in a package where both could be seen in harmony. And that's beauty. That's beauty because normally those two just do not seem to mix. You don't think of new life and think about death, but then there are contextual experience where both are intertwined. You just never make the appreciation and realization that it is the case. The husband is a very nice gentleman, and he shows PTSD when the second child comes in lines of what happened to Julie. So it's kind of fair, and you took a very empathetic stance for her romantic interests. Um, so there was a lot of like very clever strategies in movies to keep the attention in films that makes the audience engage in lines makes them think and try to project of like what's going on. I was always trying to understand after those heavy tones were put in the nice beginning of the movie, what drove her to compel it that way. Trying to think if there was like historical events or like her character, her personality, which led her to make such extreme actions, taking actions to take on board what she was trying to say. And it's like words beyond feeling. Movie really in tune and goes into tunes the feelings of motherhood, fear, causes of death, and more representation could be self-esteem issues as well. And I love all these little cute things that they talk about when they're discussing about the kids and, aspects of choosing favorite colors as well. Yeah, I wonder if you could guess what my favorite color was when I was talking to my when we were discussing this as kids with some of my friends, my age group. uh, and I really love the themes incorporated in the contextual projection of the films. Most notably, one of the stories I thought was really good idiom to the extent was a monster acting as a bad guy, taking out stars, um, and the impression that the stars is needed in life because they bring hope to people's world, so you can see things in color from black and white projections. So there are a lot of nice, clever things that were very intellectually basis in terms of like idioms or symbolization. And I'm a it's a bit of a guilty pleasure for me to like take those interpretations in my head, and they have a nice lasting effect on me. Um, so the answer to her would have been to like stick on to medications in minds of like for a condition, and I felt bad for the ending, but like the ending is left openly. They do stress out the importance of of they do stress the importance of like some people are sick they don't even realize you didn't have great insight for our situation and circumstances. Right. So okay. So that kind of like review in a lot of things that I wrote along the lines of like understanding. So you could see I was really engaged in the story and I liked it. So 6 out of 6 score and 8. Uh, I kind of like want to give it a scoring basis of my own perspective, like how I interpret it and where my enjoyment came for this film. there's no real bad guys. It's just a sickness. There's no underlying themes of some characterization that's portrayed into villainy either. So it's more like of events of that natural. I give it strong. Maybe my would cool down from it, but like I thought this was a good 17, 18 for me. 17, 18, 16. Hard to say to depiction, but I'll be a bit fair. 16, 16 out of 20 movie. Um, but I felt like it comes to lines of like realism. Maybe because I'm a guy, but like this is was really nice to watch, and I had a lot of fun watching it. So it's like 4 out of 5, you could say, 4 out of 5 scoring system. Thank you so much for paying attention to my movie review of this week.
Hey everyone, thank you for putting the effort to watch the effort I placed on making something of an entertaining video. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said before, it's not forced, but like I really would appreciate any contribution and support you give to this channel, as it gives me more motivation and more incentive to enjoy more video creating and content creation. Uh, if you find that the content drifts away at any point, you can always unsubscribe. It's no big deal. Again, it doesn't mean much. It doesn't take much from you, but it means a whole bunch of me. And it would feel great if you would just reward my efforts of trying to be positive and contributionary. Thank you so much. Bye.